I want to thank you for joining me once again out here in the workshop. Today we are going to be finishing some CPM3V Kukris. I'm very excited to have you here with me while I finish both of these knives. The other one is over there on the workbench. I can't really hold two of them at the same time as well as the camera, so I just have one of them here. So if you just want to take a little break from the craziness of the world and watch me build something, you've come to the right place. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. I'm really working on growing the channel, and that really helps me to keep making videos like this. So these have been tempered 2 times at 450 degrees, 2 hours each time. So I'm going to start by grinding the flats, and then it will be time to grind the bevels, choose some handle material, and get the finishes laid down on the blades and get these ready for gluing. So the horizontal grinding went well. Got this all smoothed out. It has a nice distal taper. There's one little bump right here that will go away once I regrind the bevels. I'm just going to make sure that our edge alignment is right where it should be, and make sure everything's nice and straight. And then it's going to be time to do the bevel grinding. I have cleaned off all of the heat treating scale, and I just used a somewhat dull 60 grit belt, so my bevels are not perfect. That's okay at this point. They're nicely rough ground in. I will clean them up with a sharp 120 grit belt next, and then move it all the way up to 400 grit. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to hand sand either of these yet. They are CPM3V, which is very hard to hand sand. I am going to clean up the flats a little bit by hand, just at 120 grit. Actually, I'll do that before I do all the finish grinding on these, just because I did use the horizontal grinder to grind in the distal taper and kind of grind in the flats, and there's just a little couple of spots that I think I can really knock down with a fresh 120 grit belt and just do it by hand. That's probably the easiest way to get the flats looking really nice. So what I will most likely do on these is just like a stonewashed finish or like a dark acid etch. But we'll see. I might change my mind. I might decide to hand sand one of them. Anyway, I have picked my handle material. And these are both scales that I made. They are burl and resin hybrid scales that I made. And this one is white and black. And it is just amazing. It looks fantastic in person. So I'm actually going to do black and white liners under this one to thicken it up a little bit. It's not super thin, but it's not super thick either. So that'll have black and white liners. And then for the other one, this is another set of resin and burl hybrid scales that I made. This one's kind of an ocean blue. And in person it looks amazing, so I cannot wait to get that all polished up and really get the figure out of the wood and out of the resin. And this one I'm going to do some blue liners to kind of tie in the whole thing. So now that I have the handle material picked, I'll set that aside for now. And it is now time to clean up the flats, and then I will finish grind these bevels. Alright, been time. I'm going to pull these out. And that is a nicely darkened kukri. So I'm going to neutralize it. Same thing with this one. Alright, so the set of scales here is so big that I don't want to cut the liner material for the whole piece. I just want to cut a piece that'll fit the tang of the knife. So I'm going to decide what part of the scale I want to use for the knife so I can cut it out and keep some of these pieces for later different projects. I'm actually thinking right about here. I'm going to cut this out on the bandsaw. Alright, so I have my G10 liners here in the vise. With G10 I use an angle grinder with a cutoff wheel to rough it out. Just because if you use a bandsaw, the glass fibers in the G10 will dull your blade instantly, really quick. So I don't even cut G10 on the bandsaw, I do it all with the angle grinder. The scales have been glued to the liners, or the liners have been glued to the scales. Either way, we're now ready to fit up the handles. One thing I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to grind the scales on this one flush, just so I have a better idea of exactly where I need to position the tang to drill all the holes. Now that the holes are drilled in the scales, I'm going to mount the tang on here. And then I will use some pins that will trace where the tang goes, and then I will grind these to the tang shape and get these all ready to glue up. Now it is time to stonewash these blades. I've already done this one. It looks really, really wonderful. It's a very subtle change from just being etched, but it really highlights the grind lines, and I really like that. So, I'm going to stonewash this one now, and I just do it in this. And now these are finished and ready for their handle scales to be glued. So I'm going to get these glued up tonight, and then tomorrow we'll finish the handle scales. I'm very excited to see these with their handles on. They feel wonderful, even though the handles are still blocky. They just feel really solid, and that just feels great. So, I'm going to flatten off the pins. I'm going to thin these handle scales down to where they need to be, and then it'll be time to shape handles. And that is where I'm going to call these. They look absolutely amazing. And that handle just looks incredible. I'm going to put just a little bit of oil on it. I am very happy with how these turned out. It is absolutely amazing. I have had such an amazing time making these two kukris, and I'm very excited that you watched along and watched me make these two awesome blades. So I'm very pleased with how they turned out. These handle scales are some of the first resin pours that I did, and I'm very pleased with how they finished up. They look absolutely wonderful. I'm going to take some really great pictures of these, and they will be on my Instagram and Facebook. You can find those links down below. Both of these Kukris will be available for sale on my website and on my social media. Please check that out if you're interested. They are just really big, beefy CPM3V blades, and they just feel so wonderful in the hand. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. It really helps me to continue making all of these awesome videos for you guys, so I want to thank you for that. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you on the next episode of Let's Make a Knife.